Good day, sir. I Labiaga Dexter. I computer assembly steps of motherboard. Step 1, open case, remove the box screw, take side cover off. It's easier to work on your PC with it laying sideways on a flat surface. So then open side is facing up. Don't forget to ground yourself by touching the case before working assembly parts. Step 2, mount motherboards. Number 1, screw motherboard standoffs into case. Punch out rear I/O plate from the case if existing and replace it with the motherboard I/O plate. Fasten the motherboard in place on the top of the mounting standoffs. There are a few different sizes, also known as form factors, of motherboard commonly available, so most cases have screw position that will accommodate the various size of motherboard. You don't need to install mounting standoffs in all of them. Just the ones that match your motherboard will be fine. Step 3, mount processor CPU. Locate the CPU socket holder on the motherboard. Lift up the latch lever to release and hinge open the CPU socket cover. Holding the CPU by its sides, line up any alignment notches or the triangle marked on the corner of the CPU to the triangle marked on the motherboard. Gently place it straight down into motherboard socket. To seat the CPU, lower the CPU socket cover over the CPU and lower the latch lever closed again. To secure the CPU socket holder closed. Don't apply force to seat the CPU. Avoid touching or pressing down on the back of the CPU with your fingers, as any residue the from your hands can destroy the heat transfer surface. The cooler, which will be mounted next. Step 4, install CPU cooler. Make sure the CPU cooler is installed directly to the back of the CPU metal housing. We've heard stories of installation where the plastic packaging on the CPU socket cover, which is meant to be discarded after CPU installing, was not removed, and the CPU cooler was mistaken or mounted to the plastic. Don't make this expensive mistake, as this will cause overheating and damage to your CPU. First, if I required, apply thermal paste to the back of the CPU. Set CPU heatsink cooler and fix in position. Plug the power cable attached to the cooler fan into the motherboard connector. Some CPU cooler do come with a thermal pad already applied, in which case you can skip step. If yours doesn't, you will need to apply thermal paste to the CPU surface before seating the CPU cooler in position. Step 5, install power supply PSU. Mount the power supply and fasten with screw to the case mounting points. Plug the largest cabling connector from the power supply cabling into the motherboard power connector. Plug the 8 pins cabling connector from the power supply cabling into the CPU power connector. Most power supplies will have a whole bunch of cabling and connectors come out of the rear. Others may have sockets for cables to be Plug in, we find it easiest to connect the power cabling for each hardware components to the power supply as you assemble the PC rather than waiting until the all parts are assembled. Cabling and connectors come out the rear. Others may have sockets for cables to be plugged in. We find it easier to connect the power cabling for each hardware component to the power supply as you assemble the PC, rather than waiting until all parts are assembled or plugging in all power cables at once. We do in it this way so that you won't accidentally forget the connect power to any devices. 6. Mount memory RAM. First, press to open the clips at both ends of RAM mounting slots. Line up the notch on the RAM stick with the mounting slot. Set the RAM and press it firmly down into the slot. The tab should automatically latch close as you press the RAM down, securing the RAM in place. 4. Install any other RAM sticks using the same process. Most motherboards will be multiple RAM mounting slots. If you're installing pairs of RAM sticks, mount them at the same color slots on. This guide of goes where plug into USB ports, keyboard, mouse, wireless network, dongle, printers, webcams. Plug into 2.5 mm sockets, speakers, microphone, line in, line out devices. Plug into Ethernet ports, interconnection, local area network LAN cables. Plug into display ports, monitor screens. Be sure to plug into correct these ports. If you don't have the kid's graphic cards, then plug into the motherboard's display out ports. And that's all, sir. Thank you.